Well, folks, it's time to get physical. We're gonna get physical. Let's get physical. I want to get physical because it's time for physical season 3. We're here, the final season. Has there been a show at Apple TV that has made it past the third season yet? Is it the morning show? Did they get to season 4? Or are they on season 3 right now? I don't think any of them have made it to season 4 yet. And Physical's not going to do that because this is the final season. And I get it. The current landscape of streaming and television and everything, it's constantly shifting, and it's shifting again. And I said this when the first season came out. I said it when the second season came out. This is like the rare gem that exists within all like the other crap. I really like this show. I liked this show from the beginning. The first episode of the first season just threw me through a loop in a way I wasn't expecting. I think there have been some highs and lows for this program, and now that we have reached the ending, I am sad to see it go. It's rare in today's climate where I get really amped for like this type of show, like a slow, small budgeted comedy with actors I enjoy. Like, this is such a rarity, and I'm glad it exists. And in a different landscape, maybe it could have got like 20 episodes a season and we could have fleshed it out more, but the way TV goes today, the way streaming goes today, we're gonna cap out at 30 episodes. I'm like, you could go for a while, but I don't know. All I know is the third season is here. We have reached the climactic ending, and I have some thoughts on it. Now, I think the first season, one of the best first seasons of television in modern time. Second season, a little bit of some hits here and there. I think there was a couple of moments where I'm like, ooh, I don't feel great about that. Now, this season, I didn't really know what to expect. You're going into this, we are kind of trying to reimagine the building of the empire. We are like deviating from plans of what Sheila's life is supposed to be. So where are we going to go? How strong into certain areas are we going to play things? How, coordinated are we going to be? There is a little bit of a time jump. So this season does open up. Things have kind of moved forward in time. They have progressed where we are building our brand. We are having our brand met. We have moved on from some husbands. We have moved on of certain aspects of our life. And we get right into it that way, which is kind of cool. We don't need to again, I guess it's one of those things where if we had more episodes, we could spend more time dwelling on like the hardships of the divorce and all that. But no, we can move past it. Danny and Sheila are divorced now. We don't have to spend time dwelling on it. We can just move forward. And there's a lot of like skipping in time in this season. And that is such like a detriment to what this show is really good at. I think it's way more contained when it's the intimate moments of like the daily lives. That's where this show shines. When we skip, months to years throughout it, you're losing something special, which I think is my major complaint, that this show certainly feels like we could have got another few seasons out of it, where when we get to like the final couple episodes of the season, it feels more like we are reaching the ending that we were always going to get to, but now there is more stuff we're just leaving out of it, and that kind of sucks. Certain people reemerge, certain ideas are dropped completely, and it feels like Apple didn't want to renew them, as opposed to this being a natural conclusion. Which I don't know. Maybe, the crew was given the opportunity to be like, okay, you're only getting one more season, but they had ideas for more. That's what it feels like to me, at least, because the stronger part of this season is the first half, where we are watching Sheila's downward spiral. I get it. You're doing a finale. We have to see her eventual ending. It's the thing where you kind of want her to be happy, but it's so much more entertaining to see the tragedy and the heartbreak that goes into her everyday life. She spirals hard this season. She goes to some very dark places, which is just so intense and cringy to watch. You're like, oh, please don't do this. Why are we going this way? No show makes me feel like that, where I'm just scared for the person on screen. Like, this is hard to watch. This is intense. I hate how you're putting yourself in this situation. I hate how you're not letting yourself be happy, how you're giving like yourself a moment to feel something, and then we just completely abandon it and you get scared again. It's the intensity we've seen from it before. This time we have more outward voices in her head, where it's not just like her nagging at herself, which is some evolution of her character. It comes into different people in her life now. which leads us to some of the supporting characters. So I say this all the time. I'll continue to say it. Rose Byrne is delivering some really impressive stuff here. Like what she is doing, how she's handling it, the way she delivers lines is just somebody who is clearly not doing well, but is trying to convince herself in the world that everything is okay. Just the subtle like breaks in her voice, the subtle way she just like drops her shoulders. It's really intense. It's really earnest. And it's so impressive to see. And Rory Scovel, he continues to just impress me with like letting himself become the butt of the joke where, yeah, what if he just got really into running all of a sudden? And what if he just realized he's never going to grow up and become like a real adult? It's funny and it works well for everything that character needs to do. I will say this, there is a lack of Bunny and Tyler in this season. I won't get into every single part of the characters, but they do not appear as regulars. And you feel the weight because suddenly losing like the surfer guy and like the valley girl, you lose a part of like the Californication of it all, where we're kind of expanding into more areas, traveling across the states, where when we had, you know, like the surfer bro, it felt very distinctly California. And losing that, there is a little bit of just the flavor gone. But Paul Sparks is back as John Bream, and he's really fascinating. Like that performance, the whole stuff with him and his wife and his family, it's you're seeing something completely different than what's going on with Sheila and Danny, and it's so fascinating to see like you understand how those two are drawn to each other, why John and Sheila understand each other, why they need each other in some weird way, and how he became the one thing in her mind that she could never leave behind. You buy that completely, and it's earnest about that. But this season also gives us a new foil for Sheila in the aerobics world from Zooey Deschanel, who plays the evil voice in her head, as well as like a real person who uses her body as sexuality to sell the idea that you can look like me. It is both exactly the type of role Zooey Deschanel works good in because she's doing like a parody of like the Southern thing, and also something you wouldn't expect her in because it's kind of sultry and a little bit more forwardly sexual than some of like the work you've seen her do before. But I dig it. She did something completely different than what you'd expect from her, and it worked well. That character worked well. There's one episode kind of in the middle of the season where it's just Rose Byrne and Zooey Deschanel just hanging out, and it goes into some really important places, some really strong places for Sheila's character, and you're just watching like two actors just laugh and have a good time, and then it spirals and you're like, what the fuck just happened? It gets really intense and freaky, and it makes you uncomfortable. The entire time, it's such a good representation of the 80s nonetheless. The aerobics craze, they do that well. The way it handles the colors and the outfits, it feels so naturalistic as opposed to in your face, bright and vibrant. Just like, no, there's a lot of browns and beiges and dull colors, which it handles well. It's still a story about these women trying to break into a male-centric industry, which is so powerful to see, which is a lot of like the Greta stuff where suddenly the world at large is seeing her have like this ability to do these things that men do, and she does it well, which is really fun and interesting to see. And then it's just good music, cool people just vibing about, and then a woman spiraling until she can never truly admit to herself what she really wants. And in that way, there is like some cathartic ending to the story of Sheila. She has always been a character that is striving for something else, striving for more, for something better. And the moment she gets that is when the voice in her head shows up. So she starts to spiral and tries to understand why she won't allow herself to be happy or fully content with something. And that is a lot of this season too. And it leads her to making enemies, losing friends, just always being on the outs with everyone in her life. And that is how this story goes. And it kind of ties like a nice bow on the idea that she finds this thing, these aerobics, and it gives her the release that she's never had to now that she has aerobics as the thing that she has. Does she truly still have aerobics, and what does it mean to her now? There is something very interesting about that. I think it works pretty well. Not always. The time jump is very noticeable. There are some weird choices where it's like, we drop this story, we're not going to focus on that stuff anymore, and it becomes kind of annoying. We do spend one episode just kind of like bottled up with just Sheila and Danny talking to Maya, and it's just kind of like, oh, finally these people are having the moment that they've needed in their entire relationship. It's strong. It's not as good as the stuff with Byrne and Deschanel, but it is still very good. And I'm walking away from this season feeling that is a good enough ending where you could go to those places and I accept them. You could have maybe got a little bit more out of that stuff, but hey, all in all, you got this show to 3 seasons, and that means more to me than anything, because how did this make it to 3 seasons? I don't know anybody else who's watching it. I tell people about it, and I don't think they fully understand, like, what this show is doing. Like, there are just moments where I'm holding on to the remote, and I'm like, I don't know if I can keep watching this. And maybe that's just, like, me personally and my upbringing and how I feel towards the stuff that this show is talking about. But it's not just aerobics, it's this really dark, deranged comedy about a woman whose happiness is put to the sidelines for her career and her love life. And it's just tragic in so many ways. And just watching a character spiral like this, it's a dumb comparison, but it reminds me of like a Don Draper thing, you know, where you're watching this guy just be this guy and you're like, I don't know if I like it or if it's cool, but I can't look away from everything happening. And that's really cool. And that's how I feel about Sheila. This is a show I love, and the fact that it got to 3 seasons is great. If we got a physical, media release, that'd be pretty cool too. If not, I hope it doesn't go away. You know, I'm kind of worried, but we'll see. I don't know. I like it. I do like it. I think it's fun. So, Physical Season 3. I am going to give an 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. As always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good